There was a pretty hot topic on YouTube today. Somehow The Rock has been reported to have walked out on the WWE. Now, there's a lot of, misconceptions of why this happened, or there was, sayings that he was going to be in a bad storyline and all this other stuff. I don't understand how people could, not really see what has happened here. In my opinion, The Rock has done everything that he was supposed to do in WWE. The only thing that he came back for was to promote his movies. People say that, it was to, give back to the fans and to really help out WWE in ratings. Now, the rating thing, I believe, the fans just come in general because The Rock is such a draw for the ratings that, if he's going to be on it, they're going to watch it anyway. But my feeling is that how could people not see this happen? They knew it was going to eventually happen. You can tell it was his curtain call at WrestleMania last night when he walked out and pretty well passed the torch to John Cena. And, they stood up on the rampway like Undertaker, Triple H, and Shawn Michaels last year and pretty much took a bow. So that's the reason I feel like that was the last time that, The Rock was supposedly, in his eyes, going to wrestle anymore, and now they say that today there was reports on the internet that chaos was happening backstage. So right now I'm going to assume that everybody has watched Raw on Monday night, so I'm making this video after Raw, so I'm assuming that everybody that watches this video has watched Raw. So you get into the Raw broadcast and all the reports of The Rock walking out on WWE and turning his back on them and everything. It all came to like full circle when the first promo was cut on Monday Night Raw. So John Cena comes out to the ring and you see a tweet down at the bottom, because we all know how The Rock likes to tweet. He tweets that he had a stomach injury, that his abdomen was hurt, like somewhat strained or torn off the bone or something, and it makes it sound like that, he was hurt. That's why he couldn't be there. But there were rumors that, they were going to start a storyline with Brock Lesnar. Now, I don't know if this is true or anything, but I can see why this happened if it was true. Because, if they started a storyline with Brock Lesnar, that means that it would have to carry The Rock to the next WrestleMania. Or maybe even Extreme Rules. It could have happened then. But the point I'm trying to get to is that The Rock didn't want this to happen. So, the thing is that I feel that they got everything they could out of him, and he feels like that this tarnishes his career. If he goes into Raw and gets attacked by Brock Lesnar and totally just jobbed out pretty much and beat to death, then that means that it's going to have an outcome, and what I feel like is that The Rock turned his back while under contract on the storyline. He pretty much abandoned his job, like job abandonment. When USA and everybody in the descriptions of the satellites have featuring The Rock, you got to think of the false advertisements. They said there was chaos backstage and they had to rewrite the whole show and just ridiculous things that all they had to do was rewrite his segment. But, they say that he walked out of Raw. They said that, he didn't want to do this with Brock Lesnar and he had the stomach injury. So I'm just assuming that you all watch Raw. So the thing is that, have you ever been to like a doctor that, you know, just wrote you an excuse or have written you an excuse just to miss work? I mean, I wonder if The Rock had gotten a doctor's note, you know. I mean, it's not really great when you leave a company and just walk out on them and not tell them what you're doing or where you're going, or just no call, no show. I mean, you know, somebody with as big of an ego and so-called class that he has, you know, being the people's champion and all this stuff, that you think he would have gave a better excuse other than an injury, which was probably from a Hollywood doctor. You know, I mean, he's got people wrapped around his fingers, so, I mean, they have to take it as an excuse, you know, just because he didn't want to do storylines, and he didn't want to go against Brock Lesnar and be buried because it's bad for business. It's not bad for WWE's standpoint because they get a bonus storyline out of him that they could either excel his character or they could destroy it. Because the way I feel is it ended last night when he passed the torch to Cena to give his redemption. You know, it may happen with Cena and Rock 3 if they work this out. I don't know what happened, but this is just my opinion of it. And I'm not big on conspiracy theories, but it's just so weird and coincidence that he says he has an injury when the whole Raw was planned around him. You know, that the storyline was supposed to happen with Brock, and it didn't. And I think it's bad for his outlook if he gets beat by Brock Lesnar and loses to John Cena. It makes him look like a loser, and he can't promote his movies, you know. I mean, there's only so much that you can go on of a character that you're not promoting yourself without wrestling. So, I mean, if you're not wrestling on a wrestling program, then you're just being a mouthpiece. And the mouthpiece gets old because the action is not there, especially when you're abandoning the action. You know, people would have loved to see Brock Lesnar and The Rock. You know, I mean, we've seen it before, but for all the people, and the people that didn't see it 10 years ago could see it again. But he walked out and abandoned it. And if you watch Raw, they were in such a panic, and Triple H running this company, he had to legitimize The Rock missing. And the only way that he could come up with the way to cover the bases was, if you notice, maybe in the second hour, around the second and a half, maybe 2 hours and 10 minutes into Raw, you notice that you see the Paul Heyman promo about Brock and Triple H, and then you see it cut to the doctors in the back, and Triple H was, you know, acting like his arm was broken with the x-rays and everything like that. And, you know, he looked like he just, you know, pulled his suit off and just did the promo today. And he didn't do it at WrestleMania last night because they didn't know that The Rock wasn't going to show up, so they had to throw it together today. So he tells the trainer to check him out, and he's looking like his arm is broken. And he's like, thank you for checking, thank you for checking. I'm glad we made sure after WrestleMania, you know, I worked really hard, and I was just worried if my arm was broken. So that right there, in Triple H's eyes, legitimizes The Rock's injury for them covering his bases till they find out what in the world is going on with him. So what I have a question for everybody here and for the WWE: does The Rock have a doctor's note? Because if you don't have a doctor's note, it's unexcused absence, and it deserves firing, termination, or a written warning or something. Just, you know, if they're going to run a legitimate business, The Rock is not bigger than the WWE. Vince McMahon even said himself that he is not bigger than the WWE. So The Rock, I feel, has ran away from a storyline that they wanted to put him in. Whether it was good, bad, or whatever, he's ran away from it. And just because he thinks that he's bigger than wrestling. He thinks that his Hollywood stature has made him forget where he's came from. And when you sign that contract, you have to do everything they say. Whether you like it or not, you agree to it. And that's why all these wrestlers leave, like Bret Hart, Steve Austin, and all them people that didn't want to put other people over. They decided that, they just would walk away from it. Because we know what all happened in Montreal with Bret Hart. They screwed him. They made Shawn Michaels win. Steve Austin didn't want to put over Brock Lesnar, so he walked away from it. And they can blame it on injuries and all that stuff, but they just didn't want to get embarrassed. And The Rock, for his movies and promoting all his movies this year, if he would have lost to 2 people, or really lost to 1 person, and got beat up the second night, it would have just ruined all the promotions and stuff that he has to do this year. So I felt like they were trying to get another push out of The Rock, and The Rock cut it off and pretty much walked out on them and left them high and dry, because he feels like in his eyes that he's done everything that he can do. But without a legitimate excuse, you got to question whether he was there really for the people, or he was there really for the ratings, or was he there for his own general benefit, which I know is the truth. The Rock cares about nothing but himself. He loves reactions and he loves attention, but that attention is all drawn to himself. So in the end, that's all he cares about, because it's proof enough that if you walk out on a company that helped make who you are, then you would do anything to keep your namesake, pretty much. I mean, if they're going to try to ruin you in your eyes, and you're the person they're trying to do it to, you're going to walk away from it. And he feels like he's bigger than anything, so he can walk away from it. And that's why you saw the segment with the doctors and the injury and stuff like that, Triple H, where he's running the company now. He had to cover the bases to make people believe this is a legitimate injury, and that's the way I feel about it. So I think in the end, we've seen the last of The Rock in wrestling, the Rock as we know him. I don't think he'll come back to job out. He's not going to do that. He's not going to ruin his career. They both used each other, and now the using is done, and there's nothing left to do. So he passed the torch last night. He did his thing, and it's done. It's over with. But I just think that it's wrong. I think that he should have done it more better. He should have did it with respect and dignity, and walked away from it the way that he feels like would carry on his legacy. Because if he's going to be remembered for walking out from walking out on them, then I don't see how he's going to redeem himself. But I just want to know, where does he go from here? He didn't care about it in the beginning, and he doesn't care about it in the end. I want to thank y'all for watching, and remember, we all have a video camera, we all have internet, and we all have an opinion.